Hello, welcome, folks. This is you know, it's great to see you all. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Peggy. Robert, I know that the meeting was rescheduled, so we might have light participation. But we plan to have a really uh good conversation. As we know, with climate accelerating, the ecosystem collapse, communities bearing the weight of the corporate greed. Um, and our political complicity that's going on right now. um we're seeing suppression in real time, escalating, brutal crackdowns on environmental activists, recent $900 million slap suit against filed by Energy Transfers, the same folks that are responsible for Keystone Pipeline, and Standing Rock. They and lawsuits invoked racketeering, RICO charges against environmental activists. We're watching all this unfold, and it's happening at the same time that they're getting the EPA and NOAA and stripping funding. Our authority and our scientific integrity, basically. Recent reports in the news where scientists from France was detained and refused admittance because he had posted something on social media about policies that he didn't like happening within the environmental field. So um, just want us to come into this discussion tonight clear-eyed about the forces that we're up against, but also being bold and imagining our alternatives. So I just want to, take time to share, the stuff that we're working on in our different areas. We want to just have an open and frank conversation. We haven't had one of these in a while, so I thought we'll just open it up like that. Maybe we can do a little grounding too if we want to, take a couple of breaths. I know I have been kind of working all day in this work, so I've been really invigorated by the conversations we've been having and some of the actions I see in organizing that's going on right now. And in the face of all the insanity that we're seeing, that kind of real sanity, really grounded actions and strategic thinking that's happening right now, is really empowering to me. So I'm super excited about having this conversation with all of y'all, and I want to kind of open it up. What are y'all up to? How have you been? How are you doing, Geneva? Maybe a quick check-in, and then any work that you are working on, and then we can start digging into some other things that we want to talk about. So you want to open us up, Geneva? How are you?
Oh, I'm well, I'm here.
I'm so
Um,
glad.
really struggling to keep my head above water given what all is happening right now. Um, my younger son is coming to visit from Toronto on Sunday, so I am kind of staying focused on that as something positive. Being busy cleaning my house and not turning on the news yet today. Um, I'm particularly discouraged by the decision in the Greenpeace case. Um, that is huge. You know, that was clearly a slap suit. My understanding is that it was actually thrown out of federal court. But of course, in the state of North Dakota, with a jury trial, you don't really get um, a jury of your peers, so to speak. Uh, the pipeline company is pretty clever in crafting that. Um, I was actually a victim of a slap suit a couple of years ago here in the state of California. Fortunately, we do have good anti-SLAPP laws here in this state, and so that was thrown out of court pretty quickly. Um, our the local environmental group I work with, we advocate thorough environmental review, is trying to keep on with our main efforts. We're involved in trying to protect the forests here. We have a lot of federal forests here in our county, and there are constant um, attacks. There's a company trying to set up wood pellet factories and production here in the state, and so we have been participating in the public input process for CEQA and NEPA in the case of federal forests. Um, um, Possibly headed for litigation on some of these issues, depending uh, on what the impact some of Trump's executive orders are going to have on the whole forestry scene. We're continuing to advocate for environmental groups to take an anti-war stance. We can see with what Trump is doing, right? He was supposed to be the peace president. We can see how, well, maybe the genocide is going to be stopping in Gaza, but the ethnic cleansing is going to be accelerating, and Trump will set up some nice resorts there along that stretch of the Mediterranean. And Ukraine, day one, Trump was going to end that war, and it's still happening. And uh, his friend Vladimir Putin doesn't seem to be going along with Trump's plans on that one, and now we're bombing Yemen. It's we need more and more voices. We need to be understanding the importance of all of our different movement groups joining together to become a larger mass movement to change the direction this country is going in. I'll stop there and let others talk about what is going on with them, but I'm constantly looking for reasons to be hopeful, and I'll pass.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm finding them in others, and in the work that we're doing. And the work that you're doing is really important, and making those connections between the environment and the peace movement is very, very important. I'm meeting with the Women's International League of Peace and Freedom, the San Jose chapter, tomorrow, and I'll be making those connections as well. How are you doing, Barbara?
Well, things are about the same with me. I just, thought I'd post this picture of what I have to live with daily. And the other picture that I had up there momentarily. Let me see. We can get that back. This is about 20 minutes from my house. This is a outflow from a plugged well in the Allegheny National Forest, which the oil and gas industry thinks is their, free for all backyard. They go in and tear down trees and dig wells, and then when they're done, they go away and leave them leaking, leave all the debris, everything laying around. It's their garbage heap. And I do tours, taking people out in the woods to show them what the oil and gas industry is responsible for. And that hasn't changed, in the last, 100 years or whatever. It's, as far as I can tell, it hasn't gotten any worse with Trump. But of course, lots of other things have, and it probably will get worse once the oil and gas industry is able to get past what little regulation exists at this point. So there are a lot of us following that, and the good thing is that I've been talking to a lot of people in my hometown with right now, which is Bradford. They have an oil refinery. It's called ARG, American Refining Group. And most of the town works for them, either directly or indirectly. So it's pretty hard to find people who are willing to understand the devastation that this is causing to, environment and human health and everything else. So it's that's what I'm doing. And I try not to think about, my Social Security check disappearing, because I have no other income and I'm not well enough to go back to work. And, so yeah, I understand, people being terrified. So yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah. And again, all of that is connected. And it's absolutely disgusting. And I've been thinking a lot about and reading about and, just listening and it's coming back to me in different ways about visualizing the world that we want to live in. And the power of those kinds of that thought, and it has to be followed by action. You can't just stay in a daydream about it. But you know what I'm saying? And to continue along that way. And I know I'm not conveying it as well as I've heard it and listened to it recently, but um, studies prove that that kind of thing has that power. So hopefully you're taking time to see that visualization too of the world that we want and that we're working towards. Um, not just staying stuck. And, Social Security is so important. It's so important to so many people. And it's just the kind of thing that we just cannot allow to happen. And the environmental devastation that's continuing to happen, we just cannot allow it to happen anymore. We have, like Geneva was talking about, the settlement or the case, where Greenpeace now must pay $660 million.
What?
Yeah, Dakota Access Pipeline protests from 2016 and 2017. You know, that's that's crazy. We have an imperative. We have not just it's life and death. And this is our movement. And it is connected. I want to give you an opportunity to speak, Peggy. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm just with you all right now, still in shock, and I just, you know, signed in just to hear if there are any solutions that anybody can give me or tell me what to do, because I don't know what to do. I just don't. Yeah, sorry. That's all I have to say.
Well, I understand. Understand your concern and your frustration, and where do we go? Um, and go ahead, Geneva. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm reminded of one bit of hope that I came across just recently. I started reading Rebecca Solnit's book, uh, Hope in the Dark, written in
Excellent.
2003. And I've just read the first few chapters, but it is in response to uh, Bush W winning or being selected as the president in that election. Um, and it's all about, my goodness, all this gloom and doom. How are we going to survive? And it occurred to me that, wow, we thought that was bad back then. Um, and the thought occurred to me that, well, as bad as this is, maybe we will get through this and come out better on the backside of it. Um, a small bit of hope. The Bush administration started that horrible 20-year war in Afghanistan, and there were frequent incremental attacks on a lot of environmental, positive environmental things and so on that have been going on, but we survived. And little bit of hope that maybe, as dark as things look right now, as long as we stick together, as long as we organize, as long as we speak up in spite of slap suits being won in court, um, we just have to make sure we don't shut up. Um, and I know it's sometimes hard. I mean, when we were hit with that slap suit a couple of years ago, it was like, what do we do? I mean, are we going to lose our house? Are we going to be out in the street? Are we going to be able to continue to support our disabled daughter, a disabled adult daughter? You know, and fortunately, the California law protected us in that case, but it's not clear that federal courts would protect us for those of us who live in states that have strong anti-SLAPP legislation. Um, I, 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 I don't know if any of those comments are helping anybody else to feel a little hopeful, but we the what they want us to do is give up, and that's the one thing we need to make sure we don't do. That's what they're counting on. That's what Trump is counting on when he signs all these executive orders, that nobody's going to challenge it. And there have been, I don't know how many challenges in court already. How many times has Trump lost in court? So there is some hope. One of our fears here, and I'm in way Northern California. In way Northern California, there's an area called the Satitla Highlands, which Biden, just like on his last day, designated as a national monument. And this, of course, was after years of indigenous tribes and local environmental people advocating for protections of that area. And, we're already hearing that Trump is planning on signing an executive order with withdrawing that designation. I don't know. It's be horrible if it does. And then at the same time, he's signing these executive orders that say we have to expand the timber harvest in the country. And so, this area is a beautifully wooded area that will become a target for the lumber companies, for the wood pellet factories that they're trying to set up. And, all of that could be decimated in 4 years. I better shut up because I'm doing an awful lot of complaining here. But um,
that's all
but
valid points, and that's what's going to agitate enough to make action, right? I know you've been doing this for a long time, Geneva. You know you have your kind of pulse on what's in jeopardy all around you, and that's really important too, to know what's coming at you. Our willingness to network with other movements and other organizations, that's so important. Every successful social movement, we're ecosystems, right? In and of ourselves. We're not empires, we're ecosystems. And I think that's it's really important to remember that no one's going to do this alone. It's important to find that commonality, to build our bridges and gaps between our efforts, like you were talking about, from the environmental to the peace actions. I think that's where we're going to find our strengths, creating those streams of social movements that converge, kind of like a raging river of change. And I think that's the kind of point that we're at right now. We're seeing it all over, and it's really so important to what we're doing, and to not lose that hope. I know it feels like it's difficult with all that's going on. There hasn't been, there's an executive order for every progressive step we've taken for the last 50 years. He's not going to undo it with, and we know this is a corporate coup, right? We saw this writing on the wall. We knew what was happening. So I think that's a little helpful for me to not be so devastated, because we knew this was happening, and we do have some solutions, right? That we're working towards. So, I want to open this up to anyone else that hasn't had an opportunity to speak yet, to kind of share your thoughts, where you're at, and some of the work that you're doing. Katie, I know you just came from a really important
Yeah,
action too, right? That's
the Florida right to
building.
clean, yeah, Florida right to clean water. They're trying to amend the state constitution to, the right to clean water. But it was really great to see so many people there and a lot of young voices. And I shared Move to Amend with them, and we're going to be working together to help each other out and spread the word. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I know you guys are working so hard, it would be really easy to throw up my hands and just give up. But um, I would not have learned about the the forever chemicals that was probably what caused my nephew's genetic disorder if it wasn't for this space here. And I just really appreciate being able to learn from you guys. So, and I do want to say that we have seen a tremendous amount of engagement right off the bat. You know, all this chaos is bringing people together. Um, and I know Jenny and all of you all are just working so hard to weave that all together and make action possible. And I remain hopeful that on the other side of this, we're gonna have it's gonna be much better.
As my mother would say, from your lips to God's ears.
My
I've run
mama
into
would
a
say,
lot of
"Ma."
I've I live in a very conservative place. Jenny and I both live in the Panhandle, and I have run into quite a few people who had voted for Trump that are just so angry. They realized that they were just duped, and again, don't want to neglect saying that it was a facade of democracy anyway. This is the real writing on the wall, and everybody needs to step up. We're going to be going to DC next month, and we're really going to let our legislators know that this is not acceptable.
Thanks, Katie. How are you doing, Laura? We're just kind of sharing where we're at, how we're feeling, and some of the work that we're engaged in, and things that are exciting us, and sharing our fears when they're necessary. Um,
Oh, hello there. This is Laura Rosenberger Hyder. I'm kind of overwhelmed with environmental impact statements, and I see a lot of problems in it, like contamination and dust blowing around with and I realized that I learned even read in there that diesel particulate matter, like diesel dust, like those particles, are well, it's contributing to 70% of the cancer in California. It's a real very carcinogenic compared to other things. There's nickel that's linked to all kinds of dermatitis and eczema. It's pollution in water. It's pollution in dust. It blows around. And they're trying to suppress dust, but how can they suppress dust if there's climate change and drought and they don't have water to suppress the dust with? And it's like they're digging so deep in the ground that it's stirring up the alpha radiation in the ground. And they're not even putting in the toxic waste. The toxic waste dumps are full. They're putting in regular landfills and without that much security and stuff, without that much monitoring. I think we just need to change our whole lifestyle. And then um the Trump is not even replacing the lead water pipes. Like he just cut that. And it's like this is like an environmental emergency, and I don't know where to start first. Just like, well, oh yeah, the NEPA is going to be repealed, like National Environmental Policy Act. They go on the EPA website and comment on the federal EPA website against the repeal of NEPA by I think the 27th of this month.
yeah, if you could share that with us, we'll share that
Just
out
go to the
too.
EPA website. I don't know where the links are. It's just
Okay,
the federal EPA website. Oh,
Oh,
I'll
I
check
have a
it out.
couple of links that
I mean, that's our public, that allows public comments about the environmental impact
Mhm.
of things. It had climate change in the environmental impact statements. The
Yeah, the
NEPA
state of
allowed them
Florida,
to
you're
do
not
that.
allowed to say climate change in any of the scientific data journalists, any of it. That's the law they passed here. And we're just at a tipping point of um all the way around, right? We're just at a tipping point, like you say. We have to change our entire culture. That's part of some of the work that we're looking at doing too. Right now the EPA and NOAA are being totally gutted. That's not only bringing attention to the fact that, I mean, these are all corporate handouts. The veil has been pulled back, right? So it's just so blatant now. And when you say corporate power, corporate rule, it's just so obvious. Um, one of the things that I do, of course, is I do the We the People Amendment. Geneva and her organization, Water, we advocate through environmental review. They were one of the first endorsing orgs to make passing the We the People Amendment part of their strategic goals. And and that we've kind of taken that and ran with it. We're running with it right now to when we engage with endorsing organizations now, instead of just asking them to endorse the work that we're doing, we're asking them to pick up the mantle, to be part of that relay, be part of that river, that convergence. Um, as this is one of the solutions we really think is so fundamental and so systemic. Um, so in all the work I do, whether it's abolition work, uh, healthcare for all, or protecting Social Security, VA, advocating, all of the stuff that I find important, social, economic work, all of it I connect to the We the People Amendment because, as the movement strengthens and we're all pushing for the same systemic change, those are the kind of things that are going to really help that arc of justice that we hear so much about. And this insane shift to fashion, we can't just sit by and watch it happening, right? Um, that connection, that fascist connection between corporations, business entities, and state and the government is so blatantly obvious right now. They're not even hiding it, right? Elon Musk is not even an employee, but he's making all these decisions about gutting so many, organizations. There's just the facade is completely gone. These deportations, this standing with the most vulnerable again. I think that that's where we're going to find our strength, and that's where we need to start because they're coming for all of us. We already know that. Um, and so I'm so glad that you're paying attention, and glad you're here too, Laura. I want to open it up to anyone else who hasn't had a chance to speak. I know Alfonso, Lawrence, you're here. Hey, how are you? And Cole, would y'all like an opportunity to share where how you're feeling, maybe some of the work you're doing, some of the hopes and the ideas that you have that you want to share, action items. We're just having just this open and honest, um, kind of frank conversation. Did you want on stack, Lawrence, or are you having connection issues? Alfonso, did you want to?
I can go first, or if Lawrence wants to share something, I can let him go first as well. Um,
No, thank you. Go ahead, Alfonso.
okay, I just wanted to echo all the sentiments that we've been shared. I've been on the same boat. Just looking at the news every day is disheartening. But yeah, there is a lot of movements, and like it has been mentioned, it's about connecting those movements, and because together we are stronger. And as part of that, I am here in my community, as I've mentioned in the chat and before, many of you may know, I am in the southernmost tip of Texas, which is a town called Brownsville, and is also where Elon Musk decided to have his little pet project, SpaceX. So I've been there. The community is split. There's a few people. There's some people that do like the idea of space exploration, but when they start thinking about all the micro things affecting the community, from the economics to the pollution and the noise, everyone seems to be on the same page that it is very inconvenient and on the long term, catastrophic for the environment and for the region. A lot of people are actually out of jobs because a lot of the economy was tourist based, and with the space, well, they don't do them so often, but they do them, like right now they've been doing eight of them, and they expect to be doing at least 25 a year. So what that entails is closing of the beach for them to do their launches, and then pretty much everyone. I live like 60 miles away, and my house rumbles and the windows shake every time they do one of those launches. and people have had enough, and some of them are starting to organize. The Sunrise Movement has a local chapter, and they've been doing a lot of protests. Last month, February, the last weekend of February, we have a regional international celebration where the Mexican side, Matamoros, and our town have a parade, and they go from Brownsville to Mexico, and it's pretty much all the high schools, commissioners, the usual suspects. And this year, one of the floats was SpaceX. There were some cyber trucks, and the folks from the Sunrise Movement decided that it was a good venue to protest. So we stood up on some of the corners and displayed some signs. Actually, I wrote a piece for Mutual Man about that. I'm gonna be sharing the link in the chat right now. But yeah, as I was saying, we have seen this ripple effect throughout the spheres, whether it is environmental, um, trying to end social security, all these blatant examples of how corporations are now cashing in on all their money that they have spent lobbying and financing campaigns. So it is more clear than ever for whatever cause or movement people might be passionate about to connect those dots. And I think it's crucial, of paramount importance that we try to do that with whatever circles we are involved in, whatever activist groups we might know, or just spread the word because it is like I said, it's pretty blatant, and people, they might not know about corporate constitutional rights, but they do know that they're being pushed and just bullied by corporations, and the playing field is not even. So this is one way to make it. And here is
Y-
the
That's an excellent point. Thanks for sharing that, Alfonso. Anytime y'all have, if anybody ever has something that they want to write and share, please send it forward. We'll make sure that it gets eyes on as well. We do have we do have a database with lots of people who care about this stuff. So if you ever have like an educational corporate rule story position that you want to share with us, we welcome that. I see in the chat that Laura, you said you need uh I saw something here that you needed. Yeah, right. Oh, Lawrence, we can't make this stuff up. Unfortunately, it's not science fiction. It's a horror story. Phone baking tools. Um, you said you need phone baking tools?
So I got to call a lot of people about all the environmental problems. The biggest one is that a scientist using FLIR camera has found out there have been leaks in every stage of the liquefied natural gas from when comes out of the ground in the oil wells to where it um is like transferred in another country. It's just every stage of the way they 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 videograph methane leaks. It's invisible, and companies know that we can't see it, so they just are negligent. They're negligent anytime there's not inspectors enforcing things, and they think the people are not watching. And also, a lot of these industrial sites have toxic waste in their yards, like spilled and Superfund sites on their property. A lot of these chemical companies. And
That's a lot of the work that Barbara
challenging
does.
people.
Where are you located in California, Laura?
I'm nice. I'm in New York right now.
Oh, you're
My
in New
friends are
York.
in
Okay,
California. My family's there.
gotcha. Okay. Well, Barbara's in Pennsylvania, and she does citizen like surveillance and reporting and monitoring. I'm not sure if that's something that interests you, but there is a network that's working on that. And again, we do recognize that corporations and their political allies, they understand the stakes of this fight, just like we do. And they're going to great lengths to silence us and to stop us. And that just makes our task so much more important. Not only to call all of this out, all of these injustices that we're seeing, from stripping health care from our most vulnerable people who need it. We should have universal health care. Shouldn't be for-profit health care, for-profit war, for-profit prison, um, I think that we need to stand in the land of the free, and exercise that. And I think this is, the way is strategizing, right, and acting in ways that's making these destructive influences impossible to ignore. And I feel like we're on the path to that. And I want to open it up. Lawrence, did you want to plug in here? I want to give you an opportunity, Cole, too. Cole's been working and connecting with the Stop Cop City and Protect Willamette Forest in Atlanta, amongst other things, and building networks and building coalitions through the labor organizations and environmental organizations, doing that movement building there in Atlanta. And Lawrence is doing it in California. So I wanted to open it up, Lawrence, for you or
Um,
Cole.
I, I have to pass right now just because it's so crazy here. Thank you.
Okay. So thanks for plugging in. We truly appreciate you. Um, and he connects all his work. I'll just speak for him then. He connects all his work, his labor work, his peace action, his anti-genocide, I guess. I don't know,
And
his peace activism
habitat work and wildlife work, plant work,
and habitat
native,
work and
native
wildlife
plants.
work. Thanks, Lawrence. Um, because we do know, that we're all connected. I want to open it up, Cole.
Yeah, I can I'll come off camera here for a second if you can see me. Um yeah, just kind of what I was echoing what I was saying in the chat, which is, just that I think for a long time our biggest obstacle, there's a lot of obstacles out there, but I think really the biggest one was apathy. Um and there's, it's kind of been like an unfortunate truth that, for a long time, a lot of people in organizing spaces have kind of recognized that it's got to get a little bit worse before it's going to get better, just to kind of get everybody on the same page. And I think what we're seeing right now is, is is that happening? And obviously, there's a lot of really terrible stuff going on. There's going to be more terrible stuff down the pipe, but I think just seeing the response, which is more or less expected, but I really just think a lot of smart people in the world are going to come together and hopefully be able to look at this period of time and kind of both of Trump's presidencies and learn a lot from them, and hopefully I'm hoping that if things are cyclical, um, the pendulum has really swung one way, really far in terms of authoritarianism and fascism. So I I hope it's due to swing back pretty soon, and I think the impetus is on us to really make that happen and make sure that there is the pendulum keeps swinging, and that we get to um, it doesn't kind of all go up in flames. I think that's our biggest task right now is really to kind of withstand this until that the work starts to really convalesce and come together, which I think it is. I think we've seen just a lot of. Um, I'm trying to think of a different word than traction, but traction is a good word for it. Just on what we've been saying, and really what Move to Amend is, and what Econet is, what the fight against corporate rule. That's really the answer. And I'm obviously biased working for Move to Amend, but Yeah, a lot of people are looking for answers, and we have one. It's a good one. So really, it's just about getting it out there and making sure we're all doing what we need to do. But I appreciate all of you.
Bias in the fact that you sought us out to work with us, and started law school because of this work. So I think that, bias in so many different ways and why it's so important. Do you have any specific updates about what's happening in Atlanta concerning Cop City and
Um,
saving the Wading Forest?
Not much. There's actually going to be a People's Movement Assembly on Saturday. I unfortunately am not going to be there for it, but we've been doing a lot of prep work and all that kind of stuff. I've never actually been a part of a People's Movement Assembly. I've done a lot of things that are similar to it. But I think right now where the Stop Cop City movement is and where we have kind of been for a while, unfortunately, is um, it kind of in this space where we're kind of past Cop City. Cop City is being built, unfortunately, and that there's still challenges and things that need to be worked out. But really, we're kind of shifting focus to now. Okay, we've amassed all these resources. We've come together and created this network. What are we going to do with it beyond Cop City and beyond the issues that are in, or how are we going to create a system to be able to address things like this in the future? I think you're seeing that in a lot of places of really people building these networks now that Trump is at the top and billionaires and everything is all out in the open and very obvious. I think you're seeing a lot of those networks being made, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling here, but I've found solace in the fact that um, you know I always thought that the president and the federal government and who's at the very top really matters a lot. The older I get and the more experience I get, the more I'm around others in this field in this work. You know, it's cliche, but like politics really is local, and like the things that really affect you. Obviously, Trump is doing all this horrible stuff with the federal government, but really creating those networks, I think, is going to be important, and really being able to depend on each other in a world that I think is really trying to divide us and isolate us. So I think that's also
Yeah,
a piece of radical resistance is coming together.
yeah, radical resistance. One of the things recently that happened in my community that kind of gave me a great sense of pride is that we had ice down. We live in Pensacola, Florida, which is also referred to as Lower Alabama or the Redneck Riviera is in that stretch of land there. And ice was there, and like every block, somebody's posting, here they are now, looking out for their neighbors and their community members, with these extreme renditions and deportations. So I was like, that's community right there, looking out for each other. And those examples, those little examples that I'm seeing more and more are really giving me a lot of inspiration and hope, and getting me thinking in a strategic way of how we could utilize that in bigger ways, in more powerful ways. Bill, I want to open it up to you. We're just going around and kind of saying how we're feeling, talking about some of the work we're doing, any um, strategic thoughts that you might have or ideas that you might want to share if you're wanting to speak. And Stan, you as well, if y'all have um, if you would like the microphone to introduce yourself and let us know how you're feeling in this moment in time in the middle of this crisis. And if you're not ready yet and you're just wanting to just listen, that's fine as well. And also, you can put something in the chat um, if that's the way you choose to communicate. I think we're all in consensus that the situation is our current reality in the current moment is at crisis mode, and that but we're all finding ways to cope and to deal. Um, yep, fascism is a saying, America KKK, American, yeah. Constitution is definitely under distress. Yeah, yeah, that's how that's how we're feeling too. And we're also thinking about how we're going to change that. Constitutional change is inevitable at this point. Um, and history has shown and studies have shown that in time of crisis, they go. I think it was Naomi Klein that says they search out things that are ideas that are already around, right? That are already exist, and that's part of our challenge is to make sure that this tool that we have um, to to fix the systemic damage that's going on with our Constitution and the hijacking of it by corporations, that we know how to fix it, and using that knowledge that will get us on the path. Nothing but treasonous criminals running this country. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and they have been since 1776. Um, couldn't agree more. Um, well, if y'all want to come off mute and talk, more than welcome. I also wanted to see what are the plans. One way that we can connect with our communities and people who care about the environment that is pretty clear and obvious is Earth Day. So I want to open it up. What are Earth Day plans? What are your ideas? Um, is there any tools that we can help you with in bringing these issues and solutions and supporting the work that you're doing? I see you coming off of mute, Geneva. I'm going to pass it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So our group is um, there's another nonprofit environmental related group in our area, and they are sponsoring an Earth Day celebration. So we are going to be participating in that, and talking about the things we're doing, and we will also have information about move to amend, a sign up sheet and things like that, so that we can also so we will also be linking, our activities to the need for the We the People amendment.
You're muted, Jenny.
Thank you for that. I was like, I said, I hope you all have a wonderful day and experience. I mean, you're practically going to be in paradise up there. So um, couldn't think of a more perfect place to have an Earth Day event. Stan in the chat says racism, fascism is homegrown, and the government hypocrisy is being played in our faces and spitting in our faces. Absolutely. They're daring us to hold them accountable. What happened to the Tea Party, to all the Tea Party folks? The Koch brothers aren't paying them anymore. And the so-called patriots, I wonder, shout out to Greenpeace, even though the bigots courts ruled against them, just like they did Stephen Donziger. Absolutely. And Stephen is still speaking out. Um, he wrote a really wonderful piece about the Greenpeace slap suit. They're hoping it'll have a chilling effect. But I have a suspicion that, for me anyway, all it's done is made me more resolute and more determined um, in the face of the insanity. I mean, it's you know, our lives depend on it, and that's not an exaggeration. Um, and so do our neighbors. So sticking together and standing together, I think, is so important. I want to open it up. Does anyone else have any thoughts or ideas? Any action work? I will go ahead and give a quick update, a move to amend update about the We the People Amendment. We've been talking about that a little bit. So we brought 2 new co-sponsors on last week, bringing our total to 30. I'm not sure, was it introduced on our last meeting? So the reason it got introduced a little earlier is because there was a slew of HJRs that were introduced by a legislator out of Georgia who thought that he wanted to, he introduced a bill for like every federal regulating body. Like you don't have to listen, you don't have to, the EPA's not enforceable. Nothing that no regulation that they implement is enforceable. The same with NOAA, same with not NOAA, any of the regulatory bodies. There were like 15 or 20 that he introduced in one afternoon. So it fast tracked. We wanted to have the same number for consistency. There was no other changes made, so it'd make it really easy for what we call the low-hanging fruit of representatives who have sponsored, co-sponsored in the last session. So it's HJR 54, and we currently have 30 co-sponsors. We are the national team. A handful of us are going to DC next for from the 7th to the 11th. And while we're there, we're going to connect with Next System Studies at George Mason University and kind of present our tools there as well. And then we're thinking about an action in front of Doge. Do y'all have any suggestions while we're there? How we can raise awareness about this? I'm not sure. We're not going to have our 15-foot banner, but we still plan to make a lot of noise. We did create some new banners, and we're hoping to have our singing tree, but I don't think it's going to be done in time. And we still want to have one more singing tree creation day in this space if you are interested in that. Does anyone have any questions about the We the People Amendment? We are also working on having our goal, one of our strategic goals is getting it introduced in the Senate this session. So we're doing a lot of groundwork and planting the seeds and plan on having that sprout this in 119. It's time. Not a joint resolution until we have the companion bill, right? More questions about that? Schiff is who the main focus in California, but we will be going to all of our Senate representatives in this congressional cycle. Do we have any other questions about that or any thoughts, any ideas? Laura?
Oh, actually, I had another question about a new lifestyle. Just trying to just um buy homegrown organic vegetables. But up here, it's a little too cold right now where I am to be planting right now. And I need to buy organic vegetables. There's only a couple brands in the store. They come all the way from California, and there's a lot of pollution out there where they're grown. Really need some more variety of vegetables. They can even sell them over here. So to stay not to buy the pesticide ones. Because pesticides are a big water pollution problem in California right now. They have a lot
Yeah,
of mercury in them and
absolutely. Mercury and forever chemicals. It's unacceptable. We have we have natural springs here in northern panhandle of Florida, and beautiful, the most pristine, wonderful water you've ever seen. It hasn't touched air in a millennium, it's just perfect. Fountain of youth kind of water, and Nestle is bottling it. And my friend has property right down the road, so we put our little paddle boat out there and go pedaling. Every time we went out there, we met with the person who kicks the fences down every time. On it takes knocks the fences down to the springs because he's been, swimming in that water for generations. And that little act of defiance, he's like, he knows nothing about politics. He doesn't check into any of that. It's a very rural area, and but you know that little act of defiance every time, I just love it.
Katie Stack talking about organic homegrown vegetables. I have a friend that just got a house, is planning on doing a vegetable garden, and well, that friend's Jenny. So I'm pretty excited about that, and get my family out because I don't have a very big yard to do too much. But yeah, we're gonna get the kids together and grow some good veggies here and fruits. And I know what to get her every birthday and every Christmas. Fruit plants, fruit trees.
It's the absolute best gift you could get me for sure. We wanted chickens too, but I'm afraid of the gators now because we live right on the wetlands. I'm so excited about having that in my backyard. Still keeping Flint, Michigan, absolutely, and East Palestine in our thoughts. The California fires um, near the nuclear plant is super scary. Um, yeah, Florida fascist governor. We were talking about that right before you got on because is he gone now? Yeah, I think he just plugged out. I think he was having a hard time staying connected, but yeah, you're not even allowed to say climate change here. But what did that birth? That birthed Rebecca Jones. Are y'all familiar with her? She was a during COVID, she was a data scientist, and she was just reporting on the numbers. And they started changing the numbers and not fairly reporting, not accurately reporting. So she blew the whistle on it, and the jackboots came to her house, kicked in her doors, pointed guns at her and her children, and and confiscated her uh, laptop. She started her own data reporting uh, center. That's when they kicked its boots. And then so she left. She went to New York. She stayed there for a couple of months. And then Representative Matt Gaetz was running uncontested. And so she moved back here and ran against Matt Gaetz for office. And in a deeply red part of the state, which is the actual community that I'm in, she got a fair percentage of the vote. So, you know, those small acts of resistance that help feed my garden of hope. And that is one of them. And she quickly became we met with her about the We the People Amendment, and she's like, this is an absolute no-brainer. And she came on as she took the pledge before we even got off the phone. So we're all in this together, and I'm honored to be on this path with y'all and on this journey. We on this journey with real people, and I appreciate everything that you're doing in your communities, um, for the environment, for our democracy, and for just raising up the level of humanity that you do, with your eyes wide open. You woke folk. I'm very, very proud to be in this with you. Uh, shoulder to shoulder, even if it is virtually right now. Please reach out, keep standing up. If we don't have anything else, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. This was a really great call. I got a lot out of it. So
Yes.
did a great job.
Yeah, y'all did. Thank you. Much love. See you next month.